All right, grooving to my own theme music. Does that count as narcissism? I'm not sure because I didn't create the theme music, so I'm grooving to someone else's music. NSG, to be precise. I mean, it's for me, but I don't know if there's still narcissism. Hello, nobody, and Abigail, and Wolf Northern on Twitch. Hello. Yes, cheers. It's my celebratory, fully vaccinated freeze martini. Well, that was nice timing, Abigail. Stream starting the exact moment a song finished for you on Spotify. Opportune timing. Oh, I love a dry freezer martini. Just icy cold. And just with that bite and that edge that a gin-heavy martini gives you. And nobody, I'm going well, thank you. No side effects. It's unusual to get side effects, even mild ones from a second AstraZeneca. I got mild ones from the first dose. My arm's a bit sore, where they stabbed it with a needle and pumped some stuff in there. Not like horrible pain, but it's a bit sort of muscle achy. And I kind of feel like for a little while I had a very vague, not quite fully developed headache. But I don't know. That could have been psychosomatic because I was going, am I going to feel any side effects from this? We'll see how the night goes because the first one, the most noticeable side effects came on in bed that night. I got a bit of a fever and then I got the chills and then I was really weak. And so I was like kind of pathetic, honestly. It was funny. Oh, dude, no, sorry. Okay, generally. Okay, you're having a decline in mental health. That sucks. And that is a thing that happens. That is a real thing. And well, the first positive thing I'm going to say is your awareness of that is very important because, of course, the insidious nature of a lot of mental health issues is you don't realize it's your brain acting up because your brain tells you certain things are real. You assume they're real. What's our important saying? Don't believe everything you think. And of course, it just makes perfect sense. If your brain's telling you something's real, it's real. That's human existence. That's not a crazy thing to say. If our brain tells us something, it's real. But except brains are quite flawed. But yes, just having the awareness that you're having issues at the moment is first step. Oh my God. Okay. It's good there's not a gun in the house. You might not have made it through last night. Well, if you're having, from my understanding, great big asterisk, not an expert, but have talked to experts, there's kind of like scales of potential self-harm. And I hope you and anyone else gets help no matter which sort of step on the way you are. An early one is I don't feel like living. It's just, what's the point of living? It's blur. Second phase of it is articulating to yourself thoughts, of suicide. And it gets very dangerous. The suicidal ideation gets very dangerous when your brain starts mapping out a plan for you to do these things. They're all very serious, but yeah, I do hope you're in a position to get some help and I'm very happy if you hang out with me for chats. And I hope even more that you're able to talk to someone far more appropriate than me. I'm inappropriate by every measure of society, quite honestly. But I'm very happy to just, be a friendly voice at the moment. So ill, anxiety, making you physically ill. Oh, and the black dog too. Well, that's great. Yes, the warring of anxiety and depression. I'm incredibly lucky to have not had it myself, but I know so many people, including family members, who have, and it's fucked. It is fucked. But while you're probably not feeling good about things at the moment, well, and then again, good approach. Suicide's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. You're not feeling great, but um, you might not be feeling anything positive about yourself, but I want to hold out the huge positive sign to you. Your self-awareness is a massive positive, because all too often nasty bouts of mental health challenge take away our ability to even understand what's happening. And you seem to have a very clear understanding of what's happening. That's a massively important first step. So, hopefully we've just got to do the incrementally crawl back. Like I say, these things can drag you under very quickly, and any recovery can be much slower by comparison. But, each teeny step is a bit closer to getting there. And Abigail's going to have a booty call. Star Trek and chill. Well, that's allowable under lockdown rules. So you're not even breaking the rules. But I'd be on board with you breaking the rules for a booty call anyway. But you're not breaking the rules. That's inside the rules. And been cleaning the lounge room. Feeling okay. Well, that's good. And that's also a kind offer, Abigail, to catch up with our man on Discord. Solidarity. Solidarity among the what was the word we came up with? It's going to be the name of the distillery. Now this is going to drive me crazy. It wasn't atypical. It was, maybe it was atypical. No, it wasn't atypical, but it was kind of on there. Divergent. That's it. We were the divergent. Solidarity among the divergent. Because, yes, if you're feeling on the outers, it's good to have contact with other people also on the outers. Nobody, you've got acute self-awareness from being an Aspie, more self-aware than many neurotypicals. Well, there's a big thing with many neurotypicals to completely lack self-awareness. And hello, Celtic King. It was it's kind of interesting you talk about, how because there's an absolutely incorrect stereotype of people on the spectrum not having emotions, not having feelings, and not understanding feelings and emotions in others, where I don't think that's any more common in atypical than it is in neurotypical people. But again, what I'm told by people in the spectrum, what I read about it, is it's actually more accurate to say quite often people on the spectrum have a problem when people's words and actions don't match up. because maybe tone's not detected, or not really comprehending someone saying they feel the opposite of what their actions show they're actually feeling. And because it wasn't until his 20s that AIDS got various diagnoses of being on the spectrum and being dyslexic. And, and then he learned, like, you really have to study people to understand them. So he does that. Whereas a lot of people in neurotypical world think they instinctively understand people's feelings and emotions and are regularly incorrect. AIDS started from, this person displays things differently to me. I'm going to treat it like a science project and start to piece together that facial expression and that tone means this. That eye movement and that physical stance means this. And it was a massive amount of trial and error. And yes, his very idiosyncratic brain collates and stores all these things. Yeah, no, but you put the hard work in on yourself. Yeah, and easy put in the hard work. A lot of people in neurotypical land feel like they don't need to put in hard work because they just know and regularly don't. Abigail, you had to change therapist once because you're thinking she was making fun of you because the difference in tone meaning. Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, and that can be a real thing if the words someone says conflict with how you interpret their tone or facial expression or body language. That can be really difficult. And I say that as a largely neurotypical individual. It's the old joke about relationships. You know you're in trouble when when you're having an argument or a disagreement with an intimate partner, and you say, "What's wrong?" and they go, "Nothing." That's when you know you're in real trouble. Celtic, my thing says there's 11 people watching across the platforms, but it's just in terms of people actively engaging. And hey, kind viewers, don't feel like this is me compelling you to actually join in the text chat. This is just an observation. But only a few people are doing it. Speaking of, I've said his name enough times. So Aidsy thinks he wants to come in. So let's see what happens on that front. I will send him the link. Sending a link. Okay. Oops. Emailed you the link. Autocomplete. I just have to type in EM and it auto-completes to emailed you the link. So either he's watching the stream or our brain waves are going out there and he goes, he's talking about atypical people and divergent mental states. I must be part of that. And he sent me what I assume is a thank you. Yes. He says he'll be with us shortly, which means anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes from now. So we shall see. Alexander, hello. Oh, nice. Got out of the shower to post. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Good work, that man. Yeah. I'm just sort of constantly looking up cocktails that don't have citrus in them because that's better for Mrs. Angry's heartburn issues. So nobody has I know been preparing Procedure guidelines, terms and conditions, mental health peer support group can be a facilitator. Nice. Yes, you do. You have to stick around for that. Yes, Alexander, got to get the engagement numbers up, man. Right. And hello, Justin. I am doing pretty good. As I said earlier, right? Yeah, sometimes when I move, I was just like, even just sort of, the injection site's way up here. It's not particularly sore. I think they jabbed a bit of metal into me and pumped some liquid in. Yeah, no side effects yet. As I mentioned before, the more noticeable side effects with the first dose actually happened overnight when I was in bed. But generally speaking, it's much less likely to get any noticeable side effects from a second AstraZeneca dose. Whereas apparently second Pfizer, you're more likely to. Justin, 11 o'clock, actually probably about 10:45 this morning. I went in early and I had an 11 o'clock appointment. No waiting for AstraZeneca. They had two lines, one for Pfizer, one for AstraZeneca. So I don't know, there was a couple dozen people in the Pfizer line. No one in the AstraZeneca line. So I just went straight through. It's like, here I am, sign in, answer this question, go over there, bam. Now sit there for 15 minutes. And all good in the hood. So that was very trouble-free. And we love trouble-free. I love trouble-free. So, yeah. So I keep looking for cocktails that don't have citrus. And I mean, yeah, there are thousands of cocktails. You've got to get one that sounds good. Look at these ones with the base. Like here's ones with maraschino as the base. Aviation, classic. Casino, gin. That's got lemon juice. That's got lime juice. That's got lime juice. So many cocktails have lime juice. A fancy free. Whiskey, maraschino, and bitters. Oh, so that's an old fashioned, but with maraschino in it, which I've never tried. I might try that. That's an interesting one. Hey, Safa. Justin, I don't know what the story with AIDSy, but he said he's going to join us soon, which means anywhere from now to half an hour from now. Try and remember to ask him what his vaccination status is. Safa, not a good idea to drink after a vaccine. That's quitter talk. That's quitter talk right there. Because this is my fully vaccinated celebration martini. Oof, so good. So good. Yes, I want something to contrast with. Actually, I was thinking of just doing another one of those, but then topping it with sweet vermouth. Give it a whole different character. Or, maybe I should use up one of these. Kakadu plum, raspberry. I was thinking of doing a variation on my favorite, the Woodson and Ford, and use this rumcha as the rum component. Justin, Mrs. Angry is vaccinated. The rest of the family is somewhat on the younger end of the spectrum and aren't doing it. Philip, stupid AstraZeneca having to wait a whole quarter between doses. What can you do? It's just apparently how it's more effective. And in Melbourne, I wouldn't rush for a second dose because the chances of you getting a COVID in Melbourne are quite small. If I was in Sydney, I'd get it like probably within 6 weeks. I'd get And if I'd had a dose of AstraZeneca and then that fucking Sydney outbreak happened, I would have raced to get a second dose like within 6 months. Yes, well, Celtic King, there's 2 points in that. First, autistic's not an insult. Second, vaccines don't cause autism. Third, if they did, it wouldn't make me pause to get a vaccine at all, because not having a vaccine gets you dead. Yeah, Philip. It's apparently and they did a lot of study into this. Waiting the full 3 months, 12 weeks for your second dose of AstraZeneca gives it the best boost to your system. Oh yes, Justin, I did see another new record in New South Wales. I think there's supposed to be another national cabinet meeting on Friday, where I fully expect New South Wales to have hit 400, if not 500 cases in a day by then. And if they aren't taking the proper steps, I imagine there's going to be screaming at the meetings, just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You keep talking shit and gaslighting people and lying about you're doing everything and it's such tough restrictions what you're doing. You are not doing the stuff that people told you to do from pretty much day fucking one, and you're still not doing it. Like proper lockdown and a fucking curfew. It just makes enforcement easier if you have a curfew. I know people had a real sort of pathological thing about a curfew, but it fucking worked. Abigail, good call. Being autistic is a superpower. Oh yeah, made you an amazing programmer and scientist. Yes. Get the vaccine and level up. Nobody, I reckon that's not a threat. That's a promise. Send VD your way. Show him a proper autistic meltdown, complete with violent outburst. You've made people recoil in pure terror. I can see that. Salita, I did actually say in the detail section, the unvaccinated are welcome. Just anti-vaxxers are not welcome. I fucking hate anti-vaxxers with a passion. But yes, the unvaccinated and partially vaccinated are welcome because we have this stupid fucking problem with supply, if nothing else. Philip on Facebook found out your cousin, stage 4 lung cancer. God damn. Yeah, and she should be afraid to go outside because of COVID. She's going to be weakened, and it's going to be bad enough. You don't want to, Jesus Christ, get fucking COVID as well and just have a horrible illness that will shorten your life even further. That's it. The selfishness of these anti-vaxxers and the people who want to protest about wearing masks and having lockdowns and isolation. Fuck those people. Fuck them with a fucking chainsaw, honestly. It's just, I hate it so much. It's so self-absorbed and so self-indulgent and so fucking hateful. It's just the fucking worst. Right, so, all right. Fancy Free has got my attention. Last word, latest word. All these riffs on the last word. A New Orleans minute. Mezcal, tequila, sweet vermouth, maraschino, sugar syrup. That's an interesting one. So a New Orleans minute, mezcal, tequila, sweet vermouth, Luxardo, sugar syrup, orange bitters. New York minute, tequila, sweet vermouth, maraschino liqueur, sugar syrup, bitters. So the only difference is different bitters, and New Orleans minute has mezcal, and that's actually going to make quite a different drink. Mezcal is really smoky. A good mezcal is like good smoked barbecue meat. Speaking of good meat, look, it's
Hello.
Aidsy.
I'm good smoked barbecue meat.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. And
and
hello, Megalich.
yeah, and I was not good smoked barbecue meat yesterday.
Oh, you had a bad, not good smoky day?
No, I caught this bug that's been going around,
Oof.
and I had uh, a stomach ache,
Ah,
and then that turned into raucous vomiting
God
uh,
damn. Okay.
and micturation,
Ah,
and then I had I was worried because I thought my hernia was going to explode, and then
fucking
I
hell.
got, and then I got cramps in my legs, front and back. You know, when you get a cramp, you just stretch it out. Well, I was getting
Mhm.
cramps on the back of both my upper and lower legs, and on the front of my upper and lower legs, so that
Fuck.
when I went to
Fuck.
stretch out one, the other one cramped. You know,
Yeah.
and then that started
Oh,
happening
God.
on my arms, and then I started to quiver, and uh, I had a couple of very small seizures, and I thought,
Jesus.
okay, okay, right. If this is not abated by 5 o'clock, it's ambulance time, um, and thankfully, I had taken measures to stop the nausea, and I had taken measures to get some magnesium into my body so that I
Mhm.
didn't cramp so much.
Yep,
And
yep, yep, yep.
uh, it all settled, and I was asleep by 3:34,
Okay.
and by 5 o'clock came, and it was under control. And then I woke up again at 6, and I was feeling dodgy, but a lot like not dying.
Yeah.
A lot like not dying. And then by 9, I was effectively fine. I
Okay.
went to the bathroom and released everything that was still in my system.
The
And
floodgates of heaven were opened.
were opened and released, and
Yeah.
uh, then had a quick shower and went, okay, it's going to work. Today's going to work. I'm going to take
Oh,
it
good.
easy, but
You
today's going
you
to work.
actually seem much better. You seem much better.
Thank
Um,
you.
throw out a few quick hellos. Kirsten, Hellion, hello. And Jose Yamaguchi on Facebook says we're getting more handsome, the two of us getting more handsome day by day. So, I mean,
Jose,
he's right. He's right,
thank
obviously.
you. And
Yeah.
thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. We're not
appreciate it.
thanking you for an empty compliment. We're thanking you for noticing. I've got to remember that. That's going to be my next comeback for
Thank you for an empty
anyone.
compliment. Thank you for noticing. Yeah.
Yeah. And hello,
Also,
Stella,
I've
as
been
well. Yeah.
busy during the Olympics. My fucking floor routine was fucking. I was ripped off. I just
Yes. But yeah, AG
fuck. I was
filled
me
me
and the Russians
in.
were complaining the fuck out of it, going, you know what the fuck is these judges? You know, they look at you at once and they go, right, okay, you know, they're gone. It's like, you know, slow down. You know, mark the moves, mate. Mark the moves, not the country. You know,
Yeah.
dog fucker. I tell you what.
It's like
And in
there's
the
floor
swimming, I
routines
was
and there's
ripped off
floor
too.
routine.
I didn't get any TV time.
Ah, it's just
It's
not fair, is
coming.
it?
That's what it is. Um, you know, don't want no LGBTQ plus. Did I get
Yeah.
that right?
I don't know. We're just the alphabet. We're throwing the alphabet out there, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
with the alphabet. or the initials kids.
The initials kids. That's a good one. I like that. The initials kids.
Yeah, because the I know that some American politicians and far right have been calling the folks the alphabet people as a derogatory term, and me especially, I've got to get careful about the derogatory term because people do tend to jump on me for it, and rightly so. And I had an analyze of that and realised that mostly what it is I'm old, and I'm using
Yes.
words and standards that are from a while ago that were actually quite acceptable.
Yeah.
Uh,
My equivalent was when I just tried to say to someone like, someone was getting a bit spirited. And one of me was talking about the whole, born this way thing. I was going, my dude, okay, it doesn't matter what you say, okay? You are never convincing a homophobe or a bigot. And I am old enough to remember the 80s where the queer orthodoxy is we are not beasts who can't control what we are. We choose who we are. You can't tell me the lifestyle I choose is wrong. They regarded the born this way thing as disempowering, and attitudes have changed over the 3 decades.
and
And
science, and
yeah,
science,
exactly.
and
But I
but
just said,
but I remember in the day we
yeah,
said we choose, and we
yeah,
said we choose with pride
yeah,
and choose with directness,
yeah,
who and what we are. We follow our inner calling, not um, our our designations. And you can imagine what it was like
mm.
for trans folk back in those
Oh,
days.
yes,
Oh,
that was,
fucking
yeah.
nightmare. And I'm not talking about socially, I'm talking about medically.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. They want
that's
to
what I'm
institutionalize
saying.
you, basically.
Attitudes were horrendous.
Yeah,
You'd have uh, young. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's just too disturbing. But you'd have
yeah, it's a bit
young,
triggering, as we say.
um, young pubescent kids harming themselves because they couldn't handle the changes that were going on in their bodies,
Yeah,
and it was so stressing. And it was around, thankfully, the end of the 80s and the early 90s that the science started to come in. And one of the things that's been interesting is there has always been a lot of money about finding the gay gene,
oh, yeah,
right?
because they want to do
There has been a
eugenics and
lot of
actually
money
excise it.
about that because
Yeah.
our Christian folk want to cut it out,
Yes.
want to get rid of that,
Yeah,
and as a result, you can find cash for researching that, and so
yeah,
because they were finding cash for researching that, they discovered that there is a gay gene. There is an LGBTIQ gene, and they also discovered the numbers, and it's 10%. Um, Also in history, in census data in history, and we've got really very good census data from Rome
mm.
and from Israel. The various different kingdoms had census data because they had to prove to Rome they were paying the right amount of tax. And so through that, the Sanhedrin, I could be wrong,
Yeah.
or the Pharisees, one of the lawmaking bunch.
Yeah, I think that depends what country they were in.
I think yes, I think that's
yeah.
right. I think that's right. What they would do was they would choose for young men, and by the end of the second census, if you weren't married, they'd go, "All right, mate, you've got a decent lifestyle, and you could be making people for the kingdom, and you're not, and you're still living with your distant cousin.
Yes. What's all
Yeah,
that about then?
what's going on here?" And if they were convinced you were, sleeping with another man, um, you could be killed. And they were getting through about 4% of the population this way, which is a lot, but was understandable for the times. But what they were, um, Rome itself, its attitudes towards homosexuality went up and down. Its ideals toward homosexuality went up and down, as in, pro against, pro against, pro against.
Yeah.
So, but the deal there is what the I'm just saying Israel because it was both, all of the kingdoms in it.
Yes.
Israel, Judea, and I can't remember the other one. What they kept on finding was that 4% never went away. It kept on coming up, and it just standardly kept on coming up. And because what they thought was, as we cull the population, the evil homos will just disappear, and they don't. And the Romans found the same thing, whereas it was stock standard, really hard numbers all the time, and they could they could threaten them, they could kill them off, they could do whatever, but they kept on finding hard numbers all the time. Oh, and there's some anecdotal stuff that came out of Egypt as well, and they were finding that there is very little evidence that Australian Indigenous find that they have guys who stay in the men's camp for forever. However, in some places in First Nations, the homosexuality is utterly illegal, and if you get caught, you get killed. But they didn't have numbers on it. And in some places, you were sent away from the main camp because you were living wrong way. You were sent away from the main camp to live separately. We were segregated, and then you could come in for you could join hunting parties and come in for ceremonial reasons. And of course, then there was the actually, you know what? I'm not going to go there because that gets into territory.
Gets into territory.
Yeah.
It gets into territory. I was glad you brought up. Yeah,
gets into clever territory.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
No. I was glad you brought up the freaky right wingers and gauging eugenics, because that was the point I was trying to make to this 20-something, double pronged. Like, there is no sense aggressively hanging on to that, because it's never convincing a homophobe. And as I said, not only am I old enough to remember when the orthodoxy was the exact opposite, but second, if you cling to the born this way, which is what I believe, all that does is encourage the freaky bigots to search for the gay gene and find a eugenics solution to get rid of it. It's not winning anyone over. And it's funny when I brought up that the orthodoxy used to be the opposite. They had a huge spit at me. That's not true. And I'm going, all right, fetus. All right, fetus.
It's not true.
You are literally talking about stuff that happened before you were born, motherfucker. And but yeah, but also I just kind of you're young and you're angry. That's cool. You kind of should pick fights with old people when you're young.
Yeah, I suppose you should, shouldn't
you?
Yeah,
you basically should.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you were talking there, I was thinking, well, this was 30, 40 years ago,
Yeah.
And
it's like a lifetime ago. It's a lifetime ago.
That's a lifetime ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's almost 2 generations, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So but yeah, it's easy 2 or 3 generations.
Yeah.
Oh, 20's 2. It's every 10 years is a generation. Yeah, that's what it is. 45, 60, 60, 70. There was baby boomers, me, X, Y.
Yeah. This is yeah. That sort of thing brings up the quote from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe of Aslan the Lion saying, "Do not quote the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written." Yes.
Nice. Do not quote.
Yeah, people always throw that in. Whenever a young person tries to school you, you just go, "Do not quote the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written." Oh dear.
Oh, that is words of. Oh, that's words of finality, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's C.S. Lewis wrote that in the early 20th century.
And C.S. Lewis was a mad Christian freak.
Catholic. Let's be specific. He was a mad Catholic freak.
Mad Catholic freak.
As was Tolkien, but Tolkien, when he read the drafts of the Narnia Chronicles, he's like, "Is this not a bit Catholic?"
Yeah. This is Tolkien. This is freaking Tolkien, right?
Tolkien, who was also a Catholic, just looked at it and went, "Dude, this is a bit Catholic.
Are you coming on a little strong?" This is Tolkien going, "Are you coming on a little strong?" It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like all I was trying to do was to have an English version of Norse legends. You're just a thinly veiled New Testament.
Really? And bloody oh, come on, AZ, think quick. Oh, come on. I was thinking of another author.
Was it one of their little group? They were the Ink somethings.
They were, weren't they? There's a little group of them.
Let me see. I'll try and I'll use Google. Tolkien.
Okay.
Inklings. Were they called
Inklings? That's true.
Let me have a look. Inklings was an informal literary discussion group associated with Tolkien at Oxford, and I feel like Lewis was in there. And let's have a look. Who else? I'm looking it up. Williams. Who was Williams? They're all Christians. Wait, there's this guy Williams, and I don't know who he is. Members. Okay, wait, members. So Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and Charles Williams. I don't know who that is. I don't know any of the other names. Barfield, Dyson. No, I don't know any of the other names, actually. Sorry?
I know Dyson.
Hugo Dyson.
Yeah.
Hugo Dyson. So I don't think he's, well, from the looks of this. Okay, Hugo Dyson of Wikipedia. Well, except his real name was Henry. There you go. But he liked to be called Hugo.
I didn't know about the Henry.
No, neither did I. He was not a prolific writer.
He only wrote a couple of things.
Wrote some poetry. Oh, here's a fun one. He liked to talk at the Inklings meetings. He was known to have a distaste for Lord of the Rings and complained loudly at its readings, which made Tolkien give up reading to the group because Dyson would just complain. Oh, you mentioned these Oxford dons, these effete Oxford dons, and to the point where Tolkien's just going, you know what, dude, I'm just not going to read anymore. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've got sales figures through the friggin' roof, but you don't like it.
And it might have been drafts, who knows? But Lord of the Rings ended up becoming the biggest selling fiction book of the 20th century. Oh, Stella with the win.
Dyson probably sucked. And did. I have read some of Dyson's poetry.
Yeah.
And it's all very direct. It's all very ecstatic.
Yes.
And all very it's all incredible lightness of being stuff.
Yeah.
Once you drink the Kool-Aid, you're in. And all magical transformation stuff, or transmutation stuff, I should say. I have been watching a Jesuit YouTube series about the Catholic Mass and about Catholicism, and it's got this young American Jesuit priest giving us the shined virgin. Well, yeah, the shined version of Catholicism and its beliefs, and it's really slick. It's really slick, because this guy's clean and green and very. He's buff and he's into he's into his word and his Lord, and he's clearly with the new orthodoxy. And people are talking about the new orthodoxy because there's a new Pope Francis, and he has been radically changing the church. Okay, the guy was put in place because the church was broke and going broker. Now people say the Catholic Church is not broke, dude. It's got billions of dollars, probably close to $1 trillion in property. It's not like they're going broke anytime soon. However, they are facing literally billions of dollars in lawsuits that are going to be lost.
The whole abuse thing.
Hey? The whole abuse
Not the whole abuse thing.
Yeah, the whole abuse thing in the next 10 years is going to cost them, they're going to hemorrhage cash. And also in the whole abuse thing, they've got to find, correct and or jail all their abusive priests. And they've got to find, correct or jail all of the upper level priests and clergy that are using homosexuality as means to pressure lower ranked clergy on pain of outing them. And basically that's it basically means a lot of the abusers are in a culture where abuse of power is acceptable. And let's get a little bit real here. The Catholic Church has been about power for quite a while. They're really about power. They're really
for a very
about
long time.
making sure your mind is working along correct paths. So
Yeah.
Frankie's turned up and gone, I want you to bless me because this is going to be a hard job. And that was the big signal. Because the first thing the Pope does is come out and bless the crowd. It's the first thing the Pope does.
Yeah.
First thing that Frankie did is said, can you bless me? Because this is going to be a tricky gig and I'm going to need your help.
Yeah.
And the crowd went, yeah, man, we're fucking into that. And of course, as soon as they've done that, they've given him carte blanche to get in and change things. And he's getting in and changing things. Most of it's been behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And the first thing he did was got the money back from all the money that was stolen by higher end clergy. Okay. And what they'd done was very clever. It was very clever stuff. They never took the money out of the accounts. Yeah. They just moved them to different accounts. And in the name of the church, bought apartment complexes and very grand houses for themselves. But they were in the name of the church. So no one's ripping off the church. I mean, the church owns it. It's just that no one else is allowed to live in it, and no one else is allowed to drive around these cars, and no one's allowed to have drivers to drive around these cars, and no one else is allowed to have these helicopters that drive around these cardinals. Gets a little bit and Frankie's turned up and said, we don't need 30 helicopters, guys. Don't need them. We're selling them. These cardinals are going,
Yeah.
I really want to do that? He's going, oh, yeah, I really want to do that. And he's basically also said, when we cruise around on Alitalia, we don't need one jet for a pope. This is a 767, and it's one pope. And Alitalia actually said, actually, you do. Because
you're a security risk.
We've taken, for security reasons, we insist that it's one pope, and also what is not made public is there's a shitload of Swiss Guard on that plane, and when plane turns up, he gets out first and kisses the ground, sure, but a lot of other boys get out of that plane, and maybe the Pope-mobile and a couple other things that are stacked in the back. Alitalia is quite insistent.
Because like the Swiss Guard, and
you are keeping one of the planes that they've got set up.
Yeah. The Swiss Guard have those flamboyant uniforms and the helmets and the halberds and everything. But if you think they're not carrying submachine guns when they're actually being the Pope's bodyguard, there's just obliquely thing that popped into my head. The old Clear and Present Danger, the Tom Clancy novel turned into a movie with Harrison Ford playing the Jack Ryan character. Harrison Ford was the best Jack Ryan, but there's one where, because he there's some IRA guys who try and pull a thing out not that far from Buckingham Palace, and he intervenes and gunshots go everywhere, and he kills one or two of these IRA guys, and then another guy gets the drop on him and is about to shoot him, and there's this burst of machine gun fire, and the IRA guy goes down. And it's the beefeater, the guy at the front gate of who you think is ceremonial, has got a machine gun. And it's taken about 2 minutes of this action for these guys to just come running down with machine guns. In terms of just cinema, it was really well done, because you think, oh, Jack Ryan's being the lone wolf, and he took that guy down, and he took that guy down. Oh, now someone's got the drop on him, and there's a burst of machine gun fire, and you go, what was that? And it's the guy with the big fucking he's got a machine gun. Just go, yeah, no, because those guys are fucking armed.
They're real. I've seen great footage, mostly YouTube footage, of them going tourists that are trying to get onto the grounds.
Oh,
Apparently the French
no.
are really bad for it. Apparently it's
Yeah.
them that mostly try it on, but they'll come in with their, because they've got their bayonets fixed on those
Oh,
machine
yeah,
guns.
that's the other thing. Little
Come out,
submachine guns with fixed
like
bayonets. Yeah.
basically coming out and going, "Go for Fritz! Oh, I shoot you now!" The Cockney Warriors give it them, and then a couple of those tubes, you see them, despite looking fucking stupid, are crack troops. They're commandos.
Yeah.
They are commandos. The Home Guard are commandos.
They are designed to stop people.
Yeah. And they are, they do these rotations where they're on ceremonial home guarding duty, but all of them did a rotation in Afghanistan. And they all wanted to go on rotation. And they all say, "Oh, the running around the palace is it is what it is." But we're really here for soldiering.
Right.
And I think
Stella accurately
yes,
corrected me there.
sorry,
The beef eaters are the guys in the Tower of London. It's the Queen's Guard with the Busbies. They're called Busbies, aren't they?
Busbies,
Yeah. No, the dudes with the Busbies are the Queen's Guard. I just want to point out Stella accurately corrected me there. So
thank you. The Queen's Guard, there's Queen Guard and the Home Guard. The two guys in the red and the hats. Why is it the Queen's Guard and the Home Guard? It's a long history, but they're the same unit, but they're the half of each unit. Okay. It's the half of the 8 companies of men. I couldn't do it right. I don't think I'm doing it justice. Anyway, I've seen some videos where these guys fire off shots, and it is automatic fire, and you hear that going over your head. You will stop what you're doing. It will really, really get your attention, and they have to explain everything they do, but everything now is on camera, so they don't have to explain much. Oftentimes the officers have already looked at the tape and go, righto, well, your orders are to stop people playing up, but you also have to show a little bit of restraint. You're not supposed to actually shoot them unless they're actually unless they've actually shown.
Well, I think in real life they haven't shot anyone in
No,
forever.
they have,
but they will fuck people up. They will fuck people up
big time. But they have actually shot people. There was a couple of guys. Sadly, there's been a few people who've been mentally ill that have turned up. There's a few people turned up with guns and started shooting into palace grounds, and they've been taken down. There was a couple of guys that turned up with machetes, and they've been taken down. And there was one individual that turned up with a flare, and he was flares there, and he was throwing them over the fence into the grounds, and the guard didn't know whether they were explosive or toxic or what.
Yes,
and
it could have been something very bad. Yes.
Yeah, so he took him down.
Yeah.
And in all of those cases, I love videos of the Queen's Guard just plowing through fuckwit terrorists. It is kind of funny.
It is pretty funny.
Kind of funny because you see them in the grey coats or the red coats, and they're very stiff, and they then they change sides and they're stiff, and then they fucking go for it. It's like, oh,
well, it's also just making me think of, because the Simpsons had that with the Queen's Guard aren't meant to react. But the one where the Simpsons are in Australia and they go to the American consulate and there's a Marine on the thing, and Homer goes, "Hey, are you like those English guards who aren't allowed to do anything?" And he starts going, blah, 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 and the Marine just like hits him in the face with a rifle butt and goes, "No, sir, U.S. Marine, sir."
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Marines allowed to do anything they want.
It's just so funny.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a reference to tourists being complete idiots to the Queen's Guard and occasionally paying the price. But it's just like Homer doing something to a consulate guard, going, "You like those guys in Buckingham Palace who aren't allowed to do anything?" And the guy decks him and just, "No, sir, you U.S. Marines, sir."
It's interesting in the house, the house guard, the guys,
Yeah.
Queen's Guard, and that when people come up to them and want to get photos with them all the time, and
Oh
they
yes,
say,
yeah.
"Yes, you are. That's fine. Please don't touch."
Yes,
Or,
don't touch them. No.
yeah, please don't touch. But you're allowed to stand next to, and I can't make expressions.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, can we hug?" No, we
No.
can't. I have to. My partner will push you away with force.
You know what I
I have
just
to be
thought
ready
of?
to run, and
Yeah, I've got a bit. I've got a job. Yeah,
yeah, and I
yeah,
can't be held. Otherwise,
yeah,
and they usually say things like, "Sorry, it's these terrorist times," and
yeah,
everyone's been paranoid, and they're usually very delicate about it, and they're usually very
yeah,
friendly about it, but
yeah,
they make the point, no, there's some things you're allowed to do and some things you're not allowed to do,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're very they're
yeah,
very uh forthright.
yeah. Almost completely unrelated, but what you reminded me of was Melbourne Cup a couple of years ago, because there's always the drunk, overdressed idiots will do something stupid, and there was this young woman in her expensive dress and was clearly very drunk, and she had this brainwave. This copper was standing next to a garden bed. The height of the edge of it was just lower than his knees, and she worked out if she pushed him, because this thing was just, he'd fall into the garden bed. And so she's drunk and thought it was hilarious and pushed this copper so he fell into the garden bed. And she's going, "Ha ha ha!" And then two other coppers crash tackled her. They they didn't just restrain her, they actually dived and crash tackled her and fucked her up and bent her arms up between her shoulder blades and handcuffed her. And she's been let off drunk and really confused, but it was just a joke. And I was like, oh no.
No. I was going to say, never touch, push over, or punch a cop, because there's all of a sudden 6 of them.
Yeah. All you have to do,
who
as I've learned
really
from
want to know.
demos, all you have to do is stand still when a cop tells you to not stand still, and they will fuck you up. But if you physically do something, as you say, 1 turns into 6 very quickly.
I was coming home from Angry Studios one night, and I had at that time just taken my lots and lots of painkillers, because that was those days. We'd finished and I'd taken lots and lots of painkillers, and I was homeless at the time. That doesn't help either. And I was
No.
on the train station, and I was having a little dance to my headphones, because I was finally able to move in my body, and it was like, yeah, getting into it. And then all of a sudden I'm looking down, and there's these black shoes and blue pants, and I'm going, oh. And there's another set of black shoes and blue pants, and I'm going, oh. And I look up, there's these 2 coppers looking at me, and they're going, "Hello, sir." And I go, "Oh, hello, how are you?" And they're going, you feeling all right? And I said, I'm feeling just fine. And the reason is I've just taken painkillers for the night and after work, and I'm feeling fine, pretty good.
I feel great. Thanks for asking.
And I said, I've got arthritis, and I'm hurt all day, and of course you can't go on camera, on painkillers. So for the first time today, I'm feeling pretty good, and I was listening to some good tunes. And sorry if I was bothering anyone. I don't mean to. I know I like and all of a sudden there's 4 coppers.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm going, oh, hello, this could get tricky. Can we look in your bag? Of course you can. Now, good people of Australia, let me lay down the schooling. In America, they've okay. In America, they've got to have a reasonable cause to look through your stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
In Australia, they don't.
Well, they just I love how you describe it as the having a rude head law, but it's the Summary Offences Act, isn't it?
It's summary offences, and it's also they do things like, have you got anything sharp that will cut me or anything contraband on you? And you go, no.
Yeah.
And then they go, let's look through your bag. Let's search you. And it's like, yeah, fine. Is there anything that will cut me? No. Let's look through your bag, because they've asked you, have you got contraband?
Yeah.
No. Is there any knives or anything? And I went, yes, there is. Actually, there's a Leatherman in there. It's in.
I remember you used to always carry the Leatherman around, but it collapses up, so there's no pointy bits coming out.
That was the point.
Yeah.
I said, in its sheath, and it's folded down.
Yeah.
It's in the bottom somewhere. But you can find it, and there's some. I'm sure there's pens that don't have lids on, but they're just biros. So, but that's all that's there. But there should be nothing at all that'll cut you.
Yeah.
And so they looked through and they found the Leatherman, and they were looking at it and they're going, oh, I'm not happy about this. And they open it up, and the big knife has a point on it. And they're going, well, why do you need to carry this around? And I go, well, it's actually very useful for the arthritis, and it's for stupid things like opening and closing taps. And you can see I've got a little pair of scissors in there. It's for dumb things like opening the packets of sugars at cafes, and for carrying heavy plastic bags of groceries. I mean, like I said, I know this stuff sounds dumb, but it's all the kinds of things you got to think about when your hands don't work so great. Because this is kind of the motion that I get out of my hands, and you got to think like I'm really got the hand dexterity of a monkey. Not amazing. The only thing that will cut you in here is my rapier wit and the odd scathing insult, which you'd be surprised how much I blunt in front of 6 coppers.
Those don't come out. AIDS is smart enough. Those don't come out for coppers. Those do not.
I'm very pleasant around coppers. Anyway, so they weren't happy about the Leatherman, and they took it away to talk to their sergeant, and then she brought it back and said, okay, look, you can have the Leatherman back. We believe you in the sense that you use it as a tool, but this point on this knife has got to go. And I went, yeah, I know. I was about to say swordsmith, and I went cutler.
I know a black. I know a guy. I know a guy. Just don't worry about the guy. I know a guy.
I was about to say swordsmith. I went cutler, and he could take that off. I'll get him to do that this weekend. And I went, yeah, as soon as better. And I went, fair enough too. I'll get him to do it as soon as. And so eventually there's 6 coppers looking at me, and I'm going, this is going to be all right. And I said, well, You say this happens all the fucking time. You say you're on video. What do? I'm on the Angry Aussie channel, and two of them go, oh, all right, and one of them's going, how's angry? And I'm going, fuck off.
This was about 8 years ago, right? This is when we were seriously into it about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh Jesus. Oh God. Because I remember you I think I remember you calling me afterwards and going, fuck you, these fucking cops know who you
fucking
are.
coppers have done all this. And all they want to know is how's angry. And that was the trigger that got me released into the wild. Because they instantly went, oh yeah, no, that's legit. You know. And the third one time said, oh, we thought you were going through the process of cutting down on the pills, and I said, well, I am.
He's watched the videos.
Yeah. I said I am. It's just obviously we're doing it smart, not desperate. We do it smart, go down slow, and then all go for good. But if we do it hard and fast, then it's going to be a couple months, and I'll be back. And these coppers, all of them went, yes, that's wise. Yeah, no, that's a good move. Good move. And so they're having a chat, and I said, look, I don't want to be rude, but that's kind of my train, my eye. And they went, yeah. Enjoy, have a good one. Take care of you. Go. Thank you. And off I go. Get on train, and everyone's sort of looking at me. It's the guy the coppers are talking to. Oh, what's he done? Oh, that's the guy the coppers are talking to. And then I get on the phone and I tell the story, and then people out the carriage are listening to the story and going, and some of them are going, like, and when I get to, and then they say, how's angry? Fuck off. Fuck you. Why aren't you looking like what am I can't live? Are you fucking talking to me?
Sorry, that was so funny. He literally just called me to abuse me. He said, oh, well, I had this situation, or blah, 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 blah. And then they said, how's angry? Fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck you. But that used to happen.
Oh my God, that was so funny. Sorry.
Occasionally it still happens. Oh, are you on the Angry Aussie channel? Yeah, sometimes. How's angry? He's good. I'm a lot cooler with it these days. I'm a lot less engaged in. I'm good too, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
But I also realised that what it is too, and it was actually when the folks were asking, how's boss of the house?
Yeah.
Because they'd ring me up and I go, hi. And they would always say, you going all right? Yeah. Oh, tell me everything about boss of the house. I'm going, you fucking rang me. And it's like, and one time I said that to my mother and she said, well, you answered and you're fine. So
yes. You're fine. Tell me about boss of the house. Yeah.
And so we both laughed at that. And so then, but it did make me think actually that when people are talking to me, they're basically they're interacting with me and they can see how well I am or not well I am.
Yeah.
And then they want to know about the guy that's not there, which is obviously angry. And so it's a lot easier. It was just very funny when the coppers were fucking grilling me. Like, you're not grilling fucking
just yeah. Is that I want to tell you, here's a weird thing. You don't use Facebook because it involves having to type things and use text, which you don't like. But I find out like Facebook gives you on this day memories, things you post on this day on multiple years. And so I started using Facebook seriously about 11 years ago, because for the first couple of years, I actually set up a Facebook account like 13 or 14 years ago, but I didn't know how it worked and I didn't like it. And I started using it seriously about 11 years. But we were working on stuff. And in the early days, trying to ease people into me working with you, because prior to that, I'd been doing solo stuff on YouTube for 4 years. And you are always referred to as, for the first 6 months or so, you're referred to as my writing partner, or Adrian, because I'm being very formal and whatnot. And then it's basically you're in the videos and everyone gets used to you, and then you become easy. But for the first 6 to 12 months, you're my writing partner or Adrian. And then everyone gets used to you, and it's like, no, it's easy. It's easy. Everyone knows easy now. But it's really funny seeing these on these day things. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm trying to introduce people to you and
Yeah.
give them a context they'll understand. It's very interesting to see, and that's about 11 years ago. We started working together about 11 years ago. So
Yeah. And
also unrelated, at some point when you're allowed to visit, you're gonna have to try some of these maraschino cherries with me, because they're really fucking good.
all
I
right,
should
I
take
will.
another one of them. I'm making these drinks and mixing a maraschino cherry. Oh, so good, so good.
Um yeah, so I'm not going to hang around too long tonight, just simply
That's okay,
because
man.
I'm taking it a little easy. So
Yeah, good.
just because I was so very ill last night.
Yeah,
And thankfully, oh man, tomorrow. Okay,
yeah,
I've done my census. I
yeah.
did that at 6 o'clock this
Good,
morning.
good man.
Because I woke up and went, oh, I'm awake now. I'll
Yeah.
do the census. And oh no, it might have been 8 o'clock. Because I deliberately tried to sleep in.
Yeah.
And sorry, I did my census, and so everybody remember to do their census.
Yes, it's
It,
census night, people.
and this year, the website is actually very easy to use. It's actually very easy to use. And
We
the
actually did it a couple of days ago because you could do it in advance. Mrs. Angry brought it up on the phone. She did her questions and then handed it to me, and I did my questions. And then we went with the offspring. Hey, you need to do this, da da da. And then yeah, so yeah, we did it about 2 days ago. But
and
yeah,
it's really easy. It's really easy. And I always go for the you can crack my name in 99 years.
yes, I do that too. Yes,
Because I would like history to know uh, what what a person was doing. You know, what was a person? Because I will leave a data trail in my life.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh my
so
God, we are
historians will
leaving
be able to
such a
pick
data
out a
trail.
random
Yeah,
name and go, who was
yeah,
this guy and why did he make no money and why did he live the way he lived and why did
yeah,
he, and because we also other data that showed me as a comic that looked like I might go,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden, it goes dark. And why was that? And so it might be an interesting enough story for historians to look at and go, this is a person who lived and did a thing 100
Yeah,
years ago without this technology. How they lived without this technology, we'll never
yeah.
know. Because that technology is going to change radically.
Yeah.
Um, in the next 20 years, you and I will be
Oh
looking
yeah.
at things and going, how the fuck do you make this work?
Oh yeah. Definitely. We will be like the teachers from our generations who used overhead projectors trying to understand computers. There will be something. We will be that. God, Sorry, why I was just doing. I was kind of laughing to myself. I was just. Oh my God! No, it's gone. But just you keep going because you were making me think of things. So you keep going.
Okay, well, I couldn't imagine when I started comedy that there'd be a thing like YouTube.
Mm,
I couldn't imagine when I started comedy that there'd be a thing like the internet.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it was like before mobile phones had pictures on them?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
pictures on
yes.
the phone were text,
Yeah.
arranged so
Pixels.
well
Yeah. Yeah.
as to come up in a square on a Nokia phone, not on another phone. Had to be a
Yeah.
Nokia phone.
Yeah.
And Nokia was the phone company
Yeah.
on
For
on
10 years, it was Nokia or shit. It
on
was either Nokia or it was shit. And it was
yeah.
like,
People were still fucking around with Motorola's, but they were already
yeah.
cracked by
Yeah.
the time. Well, Motorola's were the first on the market,
My very first mobile phone was a Motorola, definitely.
and
Yeah.
they were these
It
bricks.
was this big. It was this
Yeah,
big and had a
you
little
carried
aerial
around,
you pulled out of it. And I was like,
and they had no time and no range. They
no,
were
it was 2G. But God, you reminded me of what I was going to say actually, because you said when you were a comic and then you disappeared. Yeah, that was the rheumatoid arthritis and the drugs you had for that. And we have kind of joked if you see AIDSy photos from about 30 when he had this medication and he bloated up a bit, and also his skin was green. And I have
green.
seen the photos, and it's like, oh, um you look like our uni lecturers, namely second wave lesbians. And it's just like, and what was particularly humorous, AIDSy and I were at uni at the same time. I was on the good side of these particular lecturers and tutors, and AIDSy was on the bad side. And yet, 10 years later, AIDSy looked exactly like them. Slightly bloated with short hair, except their skin was not as
Not
green as
green.
your
No.
not as green as your
And you
skin was when you were on that
irony
medication.
about those lecturers, right? I was on their bad side for 2.5, nearly.
Couple years, yeah.
And basically, they saw me in one of the Pride marches with the t-shirt on, and I was with my uh, girlfriend and boyfriend at the time, and we were holding hands and kissing, and they said, "What are you doing here?" And I went, "Oh, I'm a card carrying member," and my partners had a laugh, and I
Yeah,
said, "I'm bi. I'm these two people's boyfriend." And I'm sure it's a loose arrangement. And they said, "Well,
yeah,
we've only got girls," and I said, "Oh, I've been with boys quite a bit actually, but I guess it was just not something that I suppose it's just because socially it's not thought about. No
yeah,
one, and
yeah.
when you get a boyfriend, they're not going to kiss you in the union bar. It's not going to happen.
No, because
Uh,
that'll cause a scene. Yeah,
that was a thing,
yeah,
and so they went, "Oh, because we thought we heard you say you hate lesbians," and I'm going, uh, what now? Because my
but that,
common sponsor
yeah, yeah,
is is the biggest lesbian on campus. It's Posty is
yeah,
my comedy
yeah.
sponsor,
Oh, Posty,
and
she was awesome. Yeah,
she was awesome to me. She
yeah,
was wondrous. Fuck, she opened so many doors for me. I mean, I'm
yeah,
grateful to this day to that woman,
yeah.
and I haven't seen her in years, but I
Neither have
should
I.
look her up. But bloody I said she was, she's been magic to me. I can't knock my lesbian friends. And they went, "Oh, we thought you were anti-lesbian." I went, "No, no, 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 not my girls. No, none of that." I said, "You remember the lesbian footy team? I was assistant coach, and because they had these inter-college games, and they had on one of the years they had a women's rugby union team, and it was widely put out that it was the lesbians, And so our lesbians got together with, and this was actually a key political moment in uni. They got together with the rugby union boys and said, "Listen, we know the inter-college games are coming up, and we know there's the lesbian teams coming. We want to put in a team." And the union boys went, "Oh, fucking awesome! Oh, fucking awesome! That's gonna be cool. Do you play?" And they went, "No." And we don't know any of the rules, and we don't know anything, and we've got 6 months. And a couple of lads went, "Oh, I'm going to take it on. I'm so going to take that on." And they said, "You'll be hit a lot and pushed over, and it'll get a bit." And they said, "Oh, if it gets too bad, we'll run away. But if it's all right, if they're reasonable, it'll be okay." And they went, "Okay, fair enough. It is what it is." And I only came in sort of at the later stages when they needed different things, but the main coaches were very, very protective and keen about their girls. And what happened politically because of it was the whole rugby union team. Now, you also got to remember that the rugby union team were security for the college campus, for the bar, and for events. They were security. And what happened was the lesbians became what more widely their girls, right? You didn't fuck with their girls because you were liable to get your fucking head punched in. And so then what was starting to happen was regular pride marches, and marching along the pride marches were the lads in their bar security shirts, and there was a lot of them. And the message was very simple. They're just having a pride march, and you don't have to criticize them, because if you criticize them or decide to go for the physical, we're going to go the physical. And it was like, and it was also a big show of, hey, you guys who are marching, you're safe. You are safe. You do what you need to do because you're fine. And as a social thing, this was very important because it normalized the initials people on campus, and it normalized the behavior and the lifestyle of our tribe. And it was like, they're not these creatures from outer space. They're people who do your course, and they'll often come with lisps and outrageous statements, which is pretty much what they're for. And it's not going to hurt you, and it's not anything against you. And so the world changed for LGBTIQ in my 4th year. The world was really changing. And
because okay, for those who don't know, AZ and I were at uni at the same time, but my final year was AZ's first year, and it was there were out people on the campus at that point, but it was still a bit repressed. There, and also, while you were talking, I looked up Posty, Sue-Ann Post, by the way, and her Wikipedia entry is still, she's self-described as Australia's favourite 6-foot lesbian ex-Mormon diabetic comedian. And I found there was a Facebook page. It wasn't her personal Facebook page. It was the, Sue-Ann Post artiste Facebook page. And when I clicked on it, there were these suggested things that said, oh, you might want to ask these questions. And one was, are you available for chat? And I sent it, and then just followed up with, that is an absolutely hilarious Facebook given prompt to contact you. And I said, oh, by the way, this is Spike from Mitchell. You may or may not remember me. So I will update you, AZ, if she gets that, because it doesn't look like her Facebook page is particularly maintained. but I will let you know if she responds, I will say, "Oh, me and Aidsy were actually talking live online, and you came up, and it compelled me to Google search you, and this shit came up." So,
That would be great. It'd be great to
yeah, yeah.
get Posty on actually.
Oh god, that would be fucking. She is
That'd be
so funny. Again,
that'd be awesome.
she's about our age. We're all now the 50 somethings, and she is absolutely hilarious. In fact, I still remember she was doing like a Mitchell women's group thing, a women only meetup. And my girlfriend at the time, because you remember Shona, I'm sure, and this is kind of like, why are you saying women only? And I said to Posty, because she was managing this thing, it's like, I said, Posty, can I come with Shona if I leave my penis at the door? And she said, only if I personally remove it. And I went,
That's right. And I'm
yep,
not going to be gentle.
yep. It's like, okay. Okay. Oh God, Kirsten's saying Husbo has started the census and has already started yelling. I assume at the stupidity at some of the questions that are on it.
Well, they're very simple, and I when I was looking at them, I was going, "That's an odd question,"
yeah,
and then I was going, that usually when they ask these questions, they're very detailed.
yeah,
And I went through it and realized, oh, hang on, they don't have to be detailed anymore
yeah,
because you only need a few points of data to
yes,
extrapolate into lots of points of data. And this is what
yeah,
Google and Facebook and all these other big, deep
yeah.
data
Deep
places
data.
report it,
Yeah,
is that you only need a few points and the right algorithms to get a very detailed picture of what's going on. And one of the things that they didn't ask me was if I was on a pension, but they
yeah,
asked me what I earned and where I lived and how much it cost. Okay.
yeah,
And then it went how, and I earned nothing, nil.
yeah,
And I pay my rent. Okay. Now they didn't ask me how much I bought food wise. Well, they know how much I buy food wise. Why do they know how much I buy food wise? Because they know how much is sold in my postcode at Coles and Woolies.
yeah,
See what I mean? And they know how many people live in the suburb. So they know how much food everyone's getting. Remember, they also know how many people are in your house.
yeah,
So they know that there's this much food and this many people. And so if you cut it up evenly, which it won't be, but if you cut it up evenly, everybody's using this much food. But they also know that on average, people who are living alone eat this much food, and people who are living in families eat this much food. You know, it's like I said, a couple of data points, and you all of a sudden get fucking huge amounts of information, and it's actually easier to process. They wanted to know what language I was speaking. They wanted to know my ancestry, which is Skippy.
I'm going to say complex. Yeah,
Well, no, I looked at it a few times and I thought, actually, no, it's just Australian. That's all it is, and fairly deep. And one of the things I did agonise over was they said, are you Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? If you're both,
yes,
say both. And I looked at it and I went, no, I'm not. I have that ancestry and I am hooked into some community, but I'm not. I don't live as an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. I
yeah. It's complex.
have
Yeah,
passed as white for my entire life. I I might have some of the body diseases that our Indigenous folk get. That's fair, but they're also brought on by different things rather than just diet. So that was actually what I was asking about, was that bit actually.
Yeah.
Because you get more numbers of things like dialysis and things like diabetes control and things like dietary input.
Oh,
But I was thinking, hang on, man, you're in the city where all of these things are available all the time. You're not out in community where those things are not fucking available unless you drive hundreds of kilometers and half the town gets up and goes with you. In some of
And
those
if you're Indigenous, you're still going to be questioned. If you're Indigenous and you front up to a doctor and say, I have these issues, the average white doctor is still going to be a fucking dick to you when you bring that in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see the Indigenous guys in the methadone clinic and they always come out shaking their heads and going, and it's like, oh yeah, the doctor was a dick to you. And there's a couple of doctors in there that are really actually quite good. And they go, oh yeah, good on you for kicking it. You're going okay with kicking it. They don't see what a lot of the doctors will do is when the last time you used, you got to tell me the truth because the test will tell me. And it's like, I know that, and there's no reason to come at me like that. But then there's a couple of doctors in there, and there's one that I got at the moment actually, who's oh, how you doing? You going okay with everything? And I'm like, yeah. There's a lot of pressure at the line, and I tell you the ironic thing, because what I'm talking about there is when you're in the line for the methadone, you're in the line with a lot of other people in the I call them the community, the other junkies.
The community, and yes.
What they do is try and sell you drugs. Right?
That was, oh my God. Like I was talking in a previous live stream about being in a shared house where I was the only one who's not on the gear. And one of my friends in particular, the one I like the most, and when she was on the Doan, she's going, do you know how frustrating it is when you're going to a methadone clinic and the only topic of conversation is where you might be able to score? It's like, why the fuck are they forcing a bunch of junkies into the same physical space because the only topic of conversation is going to be, do you know where you can score? It's ridiculous. The fact that they force all the junkies to go to the same physical location is fucking ridiculous. Ooh, sorry, you go ahead. Oh my God. Okay. Just to fill folks in what my day's been like. Young Ms. Angry had very bad stomach pains for a while. I took her to emergency today. She's been there since 10 o'clock this morning. Just got a text. Confirmed appendicitis.
Oh.
She's going to a penthouse suite. I love her positive attitude. She's been in emergency since 10 o'clock this morning, but they're now moving her to a penthouse suite, aka they're putting her in the hospital, and she's going for operation and maybe come home Thursday.
Well, the very best of luck to her. I'm sure she's healthy enough to fly through this. And I know that they will treat her well with appendicitis.
It's like earlier when they were doing various tests and they're going, oh, I think it might be appendicitis. We'll send you in for an ultrasound. And she texts me and says, oh, they're sending me for an ultrasound. I can't wait to find out how far along the baby is. And I just replied, do not send that. Just don't send that text to your mother, okay? Don't send that text to your mother. Her reply was, too late. I'm in a hospital and I have zero impulse control. And it was just like, so it's just like, So she's got
Oh,
appendicitis.
that
They're
can't
going
end
to
well.
slice her
I,
up,
I
and
know I
she'll
should.
maybe get out on Thursday. So, like,
I was going to say I know I shouldn't say, but that can't end well.
oh,
That-
but she, as the instant she sent this joke to me, I'm just like, just don't send it to your mother, okay? Don't send it to your mother. And she's going, too late, no impulse control.
Oh.
Fucking hell.
Bloody
Oh.
I was just thinking when you said that oh shit, she might have the same thing I had last night, but no appendicitis. I mean, but she's very
Appendicitis.
healthy. I'm sure sail through
Oh no, she is.
the
She's very
operation.
healthy, and it's been festering for about a week, on and off for the last week. She's like, I feel sick. Oh, I'm throwing up, and I would literally get text messages like, "Bring a bucket to the toilet at the other end of the house."
Yeah.
and then it would go away, and then it would come back. And today she's like, "No, I think this is pretty bad. Take me to
It's enough.
emergency."
Yeah.
So today was medical day. I don't know if I mentioned to you, I had my second AstraZeneca today. So on my way to get that, I dropped her off at emergency and then went. And then I came back and said, I'm here hanging around. And she said, I don't think you should hang around. I went, okay. I went
It's
home.
going to be a while.
And so, yeah, almost 10 hours after she got there, there's a confirmation appendicitis, and they're going to do surgery tomorrow, and she might come home on Thursday. So I love in the chat Salita Fortuda saying she's a badass. If you have a daughter, I hope she can joke with her. My kids, I have like, again, they're my kid. They're adults. She's 23. Young Mr. Angry's 21. They are pretty fucking together humans, the pair of them.
They really are.
Yeah, and of course, Aidsy and I joke because Aidsy's known the lad for like, when did we like 12 years ago? So basically, he was less than 10. He was a little one, and now the fucker is Aidsy and I are the same height, about 5'8". The fucker is like 6 foot tall now. And he jokes about it, but he knows he's bigger than the two of us, and it's like fucking hell. I'm glad I raised him well, because I would be in trouble if I was trying to keep a surly 6 foot adult in control. But he's a fine human. He's a fine, but it's just like, it was about at 18 he passed me in height, and he's just kept growing, and he's about 6 foot tall now, and it's just like, ooh. So there's this 6 foot tall guy I've got to worry about now. So yeah, God damn.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like, damn. Oh yeah. So Salita Fortudo is a long-time viewer. Again, the offspring haven't been in my videos for 12 years. So they were both under 10 years old when they were in videos, and then I like to give them their privacy. They weren't anymore, but they were kids. They were under 10 years old, and now they're in their 20s. And that's time, man. I've been on YouTube 15 years. Aidsy's been doing YouTube stuff with me for 11 years. So it's like fucking, and we've known we knew each other when we were 20-year-olds. So it's like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Safa, whose side of it's just Safa, it's a generational thing. Young Ms. Angry, who's only about 5'6", she's taller than everyone in her mum's family. Her mum's family are a bunch of short asses. But young Mr. Angry, he's taller than any of my siblings. The tallest of my siblings is probably about 5'10". But again, oh my God, my sister, who married a guy who's bloody 6'4", she's got sons who are 6'6". They're fucking giants. But my siblings, no one's taller than 5'10" in my siblings. But offspring, so like my nieces and nephews, some of them dwarf my lad. Like my lad's 6 foot tall, but some of them are 6'4" to 6'6". It's just a generational thing. Different generations get more nutrition and more protein, milk and dairy, and they get bigger. It's kind of like it was more pronounced in some Asian countries post World War II, because for generations they hadn't eaten any dairy or red meat. They'd only eaten grain and fish. And then the post-World War II generations ate red meat and dairy. So you had generations that were 6 to 12 inches taller than their parents. Like, particularly in Japan, you get people
Yes,
getting so tall. And it's like,
and Germany as well.
oh Christ, the mid 20th century in Germany was not kind for nutrition. So
Yeah, it was not kind for nutrition. And then the strangest thing happened also. You had West Germany and East Germany. And the West
yes,
Germans all grew quite
yeah,
tall, and the
yeah,
East Germans didn't.
yes,
And when they reunified, there was a bit of grumbling by the West Germans that they had to take care tax wise of all these short asses. Because when East Germany fell over, they went through all the factories and realized they'd been lying about their production, and they'd be lying about
that was
what,
the Soviet thing. They'd been lying since the 50s. They'd
yeah,
basically been lying since the
because they're
50s.
basically pumping, they were cooking the books, and they'd get into a factory and realize 3/4 of it was useless.
Yeah,
They would be making trucks, and they had to get a quota of trucks out every month. And they would get the trucks out, they'd get their
yeah,
quota out, but they'd come out without wheels, and they'd come out without half an engine, and they'd come out
yeah,
without a steering wheel and a gear
yeah,
stick,
yeah,
and they'd be effectively fucking useless. But
yeah.
they got the quota out.
Yeah,
And
and
this,
that was the Soviets, and that was the communist Chinese as well. People lying so they didn't discredit communism. So I just want you and put in chat. I'll put up there. Salita Fuchida saying saw a tank from World War II. How the fuck did people? Because everyone in a tank crew was only 5'6" to 5'8",
that's right,
and
tiny.
there's a great line in the movie "We Were Soldiers," which is a Vietnam War thing, and it's a true story thing. The book it's based on from what was the General Hal? What's his name? Mel Gibson plays. We Were Soldiers Once and Young. It was essentially the first major engagement of US forces versus North Vietnam forces. And it was a group of several hundred US forces versus several thousands North Vietnamese forces. And they were somewhat caught by surprise. And the American great equalizer was the artillery. The North Vietnamese great equalizer was sheer numbers. But there's one character in the movie, which is apparently a true character, a helicopter pilot called Too Tall, because the helicopters they were still using were done to World War II statistics, where the average flight crew was between 5'6" and 5'8", and this guy was 6'2", so he was too tall to be in one of these helicopters and fly it, but he was a very good pilot. So they put it, and yeah, he had to hunch over because he was fully 6 inches taller than this fucking machine was built to accommodate. And so his nickname was Too Tall, because according to army statistics, he was too tall to fly a helicopter. And that's the thing. Yeah, tanks from World. I could not get. I could, and that's mainly because I'm too fat. But also, I could not get into a World War II American tank. I just couldn't.
But the other thing too is, remember, if we were in that situation, we wouldn't be fat.
No, we would be suffering from malnutrition if we were in the mid 20th century. We would be suffering from malnutrition.
And this was, remember too, that when the first white people came to Australia and finally got a foothold, I'm not talking about the hungry years, I'm talking about finally got a foothold.
Yeah.
And we're sending masses of criminals through. And then the criminals did their time and were told, well done, you've done your 7 years. You can go home now. And they go, okay, great, put me on a boat. And then they got told, no, you've got to pay your passage back. And it was basically another 7 years of work.
Yes.
To get your passage
or just stay
back.
Here. Become a member of the squatocracy. Yeah.
A lot of the people said, well, fuck it. I've been here for years. And a lot of these people also started to find out, here I am an architect and actually a man about town with an income and a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I go back to Blighty, I'm fucking nobody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if here I am a mason, and here I am a plumber, and here I am, a man with a trade. I'm a baker,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I got
Mrs.
done
Angry.
for stealing bread. Irony.
Yeah. Yeah. Mrs. Angry did a bunch of stuff on Ancestry.com. First, it was her own family. For fun, she was searching back centuries, and then she went about as far back as the data would take her. And so, for fun, she researched my family. I gave her a few starting points, and she found a real fun one that I didn't know about. It's from my mum's side, which is the Irish criminal side. And there were these three brothers who got transported. They were highwaymen. They were a gang, and they were holding up. They were holding up stagecoaches, and the three of them got caught and transported, and they served their term, but they stayed here, and then they moved out central, because I grew up in Dubbo. They moved out central west New South Wales, which is where I grew up, and they became fine, upstanding members of the community in the squattocracy of Western New South Wales. The people who were moving the colony west, and I was like, these guys were fucking criminals, and it was so Wild West here. I think it was around Blaney or somewhere around there. They just became fine, upstanding members of the community. It was fucking hilarious. It was like, oh my God, they had the choice of going back to the UK and being nobodies with a criminal record, or moving out further west and becoming fine, upstanding members of the community. They did.
So many of these criminals did this when they got told you're not going home. They went, oh well, fuck it, I'm here. But see, also too, a lot of them started working their passage home, but then got a wife, and then started to have kids, and they're going, I've now
I'll
got
just stay here.
Feed my wife and kids, and they'd start to go, hang on a fucking minute. If I go home, I've got to take my wife and kids with me, and I've got to educate them to the same standard, and I've got to.
And I'll struggle. I'll
struggle like fuck to do that, and I'll probably end up stealing bread again. And so they're going, you know what? Fuck this.
I'll just stay here. Yeah.
They used to call the kids when they got established. They used to call the kids cornstalks, because what was happening was these kids were growing really tall, and they were really lean and fit, and they had muscles on them, because there's a lot of physical work to do, and they weren't sucking down coal smoke every day. And they weren't
fresh country air, raising sheep and cattle and eating red meat and a lot of grain.
Eating red meat.
So their parents were, their parents were 4'6" to 5 foot tall, and these kids were 5'6". They were fucking giants, and it was
and they were drinking fresh water and drinking alcohol that was made with fresh grain and grain. It was fresh grain and sugar and fresh water, and even the alcohol they were drinking was more healthy than the that they were getting.
Rum and beer. The early colony had some decent quality rum and beer. So
but that the main thing was decent quality, and it wasn't food adultery in Britain was rampant from the 18th century right up until
no, the stuff just was full of fungus. It was just like,
well, they'd also add things like to bread. They'd add alum to make it white.
Well, they would add bone meal was the least of your worries. What was the really bad stuff they would add to
gypsum.
Bread? Yes, it was basically drywall. It was plaster from drywall that they would add.
Drywall they would put in
because
bread.
Flour was expensive, and
Mm-hmm.
it was basically fucking drywall that they were adding to bread
To
in
make it
England.
white,
Oh my
because
god!
everyone wanted white bread, and
Yes,
put alum or gypsum, and what did you just say? That was the other one that they put in. So food was tampered with, and
yeah,
it was
fungus.
rampantly, and of course, meat preservation back in those days was non-existent. Um, it was ironic that meat preservation techniques in Australia were way more advanced than they were in Europe,
Yeah,
because of the heat in Australia. The Coolgardie safe um, is a thing that started the refrigeration craze in Australia. Um, so the Coolgardie safe is a tray with water in it and racks and Hessian um, sides to it. And what happens?
yes,
The
the
water,
cooler. Yes,
the water comes up the Hessian,
yeah,
and as the air or wind comes through, it um, it cools the meat
yeah.
inside
It
and
yeah,
stops flies getting in. Uh,
yes. Yeah, it's really simple for that. It's called capillation or capillary action. The Hessian is down into water. The water moves its way up the Hessian. And as Azy says, breeze comes through, vaporizes the water, but it's cool air. So it's this miraculous low tech refrigerator. It's fantastic.
so then they found that if you put ice in the Coolgardie safe, that's better. And you can then also close the sides of the Coolgardie safe with tin metal and have ice in it, and
Yeah,
that's even better again. But your trouble
yeah,
there is getting ice. You don't get ice in Australia. You don't cut up ice
yes, yeah,
in the rivers, and so they had
yeah,
to make ice. And
yeah,
so they invented two really brilliant things. One of them was the ammonia process, and there was an ammonia process uh, in Bankstown. And maybe someone knows what the Coolgardie safe is. I've had to explain what the Coolgardie safe is to people whilst in Coolgardie. Thank you, Stella. I feel
I thought
good.
you'd like that. I thought you'd like that. Oh shit! It's like I watched some doco once, and it's oh, was like somewhere between, I don't remember what it was, somewhere between the 1500s, 1800s in India. Yeah, yeah, how hot India is. They'd worked out they dug these wells and they dug them deep. And they had these step things going down. And by deep, I mean hundreds of meters deep. Just
Yeah,
amazing feats of engineering. And there are these steps going down, and so India is like Australia in summer, like just horrific. But you've gone so deep, the water in the bottom of this well is icy cold. But also, what they found, because there were very cold winds moving around in there, they could actually make ice. Like at ground level, it's 40 Celsius, and they dig deep enough, and the air gets so cold, and the air currents, they put wide, flat containers of water around, and it would ice up, and they could actually make ice, and they made ice cream, and they were incredible. And it's just like, and up ground level is fucked as hell, but in the bottom of these wells they are making ice, and they would make ice confection out of it, and it
they
was
would do that. There
human
was
ingenuity.
two things that they would do. The other one in Australia that they found, and they started doing this in Israel as well, was they found that you could get water under pressure and put it
Mhm.
through spray nozzles just
Yes,
before dawn and just after
yes,
dusk. And as it
yes,
comes out, it loses its heat,
yeah,
forms into ice
ice
crystals and
crystals, yeah, yeah,
snow effectively. You
yeah,
gather it up quickly
yeah,
and push it into
yeah,
blocks, and then you
yeah,
slide the blocks out,
yeah,
and that stays as ice for
yes,
3 or 4 days, and you're set. And the other thing that
Sorry,
they
I just got to ask a quick question here to Mrs. Angry, happens to be here, about Ancestry.com and all the stuff you researched on it. Did you have a paid subscription to Ancestry? Yes. Okay. So yes. So I just wanted to answer Abigail's question. Do you need a paid subscription? Yes. If you seriously want to delve into it, you need a paid subscription. So continue, AZ, with the ice story.
Yeah, and so the other thing, the Egyptians used to get a like a bucket in a bucket system, and they'd seal up the inside, or they'd seal up the gap between. But what they'd do is they'd get rice and they'd put it in the between the two containers, and as it went off, it's an endothermic reaction, and so they would put ice and ice cream and things into this bucket, and in like 3 or 4 days, you'd have ice cream ready to go, and it was so
because it's
very,
releasing heat, and so it's creating a cold thing. Yeah.
yeah, and it was so very common that people in the lower middle classes could have ice cream if they wanted it, and they could have ice. And of course, they had, okay, so they were building pyramids and huge monumental things, the whole kingdom, where they weren't broke. In the kingdoms that weren't broke, they were, and this is a 7,000 year civilization, right?
Yeah.
So they're building all these things, and they needed massive amounts of workers to do it. And so they would have massive amounts of grain and meat and beer that had to be shipped in and butchered and husbanded and cared for and preserved. So they had ice preservation for meat,
Yes.
and they had cooling vats for beer, and they had bread was made daily, so you'd get it hot. But can you imagine having to feed up to 7,000 workers hot bread for breakfast every day? And it's not
the whole
just
thing.
the bread; it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the bakers had to start work at 11 o'clock at night. And there's still controversy about how they lit the bakeries, how they got light in the bakeries. The bakeries were closed spaces because they wanted to keep pests and gnats and locusts out. But I think they did that with screen doors, Hessian screen doors.
Yes.
Virus. But they lit them because these guys had to work all night to get the bread out. And because they get the morning bread out last. Okay. But the lunch bread out first and the dinner time bread out at the same time. Because the lunchtime bread was cold and the dinner time bread was heated up with the meat and beer that you had. So it was light beer for breakfast, light beer for dinner, light beer for lunch, heavy beer for dinner, and bread 3 times a day and meat twice. The meat at lunchtime was hot-ish. The meat at dinner time was very hot. It was a stew kind of thing, and there were veggies in it. The guys who were building those monuments were very well fed, and they were very well looked after.
So Abigail's saying
trade guilds, union labor,
we had this thing that it was slaves and exploitations. It was actually skilled workers. And
they were very skilled.
We've been. It's not so much the Bible lied to us as opposed to mid-20th century biblical inspired films that lied to us. Anyway, it's bedtime. And cool. You, my friend, have been in fine form tonight. And
thank you.
I thoroughly appreciate having you here. You were a bit tired the other night when you were here. You were a bit tired, definitely, and you've had a couple.
Well,
You've had a couple days to recover, and
yeah.
you've been in fine form this evening, which I hope everyone appreciates because I've really enjoyed having you here tonight. I always enjoy having you here, but you've got past. Again, you all keep asking me, how's AIDS? And I'm going, well, according to his text messages, fucked, super fucked. You've had a couple rough weeks, but it feels like you're getting a bit of an
I kind
upswing.
of feel pretty good today because
Yeah.
I had such a rough night last night.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was so close to ambulance time.
Because you've been falling over and fucking your back up, and
man, when I fucked up my back, my main problem was that I'd cracked a couple of ribs.
Yeah.
And the muscles around them tensed up, and that brings a lot of pain and cramping. And so what I was doing was taking extra they're a kind of Valium. To unclench the muscles and to let the cracks feel faster. And they did. It worked. But the trouble is you are a dopey. And you're not.
It's taxing. That sort of shit is your body does all sorts of stuff to try and fucking cope with that. That is really taxing.
I mean, you do get tired, and I was on extra muscle relaxants, and you got to push through that. And when you're pushing through that, it shows. That was good in the sense that I was really, the first time I come back and I had these, it was the first time I had the cracks in the back, and it was like, ouch. And I was being picked up pretty much everything I was saying. And I was going, why am I getting caned for every time I describe a culture or a people or a thing? And I was going, is it Everyone Hates AIDSy Day? And I'm going, no, it's not. And I managed to think it through, and I was thinking, well, okay, this is a lot of this is an age thing, and a lot of this is
and it is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
I was going, I come from a different culture than a lot of these people. And I know that sounds weird, right? But you got to understand that Canberra was a very different place.
Shit. Canberra in the 80s, Jesus.
It was a very different place, right? And then you also got to understand that I'm quite old. So words for different groups of people have changed. And they weren't mean back in the day.
We're the generation where wogs reclaimed wog.
Well, that's right.
Prior to us, wog was just an insult. And it was our generation of first generation Australians who reclaimed it, literally built a business around it in many cases.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I'm going to go to bed.
Yes.
So
I was just saying it was good because I got to think about it and got to go.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Maybe rethink about how you describe. The main thing was guys. Everybody called everybody guys back in the day. It wasn't gendered, but now it's gendered. So you got to.
Yes. It's like Californians calling each other dude. Like I say, when people say dudes non-gender specific, and I go, do you fuck dudes? And well, yeah. But it's normally people who say dudes or guys or fellas isn't gendered. If you say to them, do you fuck dudes? They'll go, no. Okay. So in your world, it's actually not non-gendered. But anyway, I'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully you'll be in fine spirits Thursday or Friday, at least. We'll see what the week brings.
See how
You
it
never
goes.
know. You never know. If you never
You can
go.
only try.
Yeah. I'm going to be starting season 2 of In Treatment with Mrs. Angry. We decided to rewatch it and found out that it's a half-hour show, but it's got 44 episodes in a fucking season. Who does 44 episodes in a fucking season? Honestly,
Not even anime does that.
no.
You get
But it was
12, 26 or 185.
yeah. We
Um,
literally just finished season 1 after several weeks, and it was 44. But we're starting season 2 tomorrow.
quick last joke.
Yes.
Was a guy comes out of cryogenic freezing and says, "So what's changed? Oh, we've got this. You've got this." And he goes, "Has One Piece finished?" No. And
No.
which I thought was nicely done.
Yeah.
But it has now. One Piece is actually finished.
Yeah.
Something like 400.
Yeah. No, there's one because I think there was Sports Illustrated at one point in the 80s had athletes of the year was OJ Simpson and Bruce Jenner, and someone waking up from a coma from that year going, "Are they still in the news?" And someone going, "Okay, brace yourself, brace yourself."
Yes, they are.
It's just very different. It's very anyway.
Very different.
Oh yes, we're going to bed. We're going to bed. Good night, everyone.
Really
I'm
nice.
going to take a night off.
See you,
Hopefully,
mate.
see you on Thursday. But bye
Yeah,
either
be good.
way.